This presentation is about the most important ingredient to manage the new digital enterprise and make your DevOps journey successful. It's about creating traceability, transparency, and visibility across the entire IT delivery model. This is the most important secret to success. If you don't get this right, your DevOps journey will fail. My name is Rob Akershoek, working for Frisian Partners and co-chair of the IT for IT forum within the Open Group. To deliver the promise of DevOps, of being better and faster and cheaper, you need traceability, which is really at the core of any successful DevOps journey. Traceability is the foundation of your digital operating model. And therefore, it is surprising how many organizations have not figured out to get real traceability and transparency into their operating model. And more than 80% of the organizations don't have good visibility. And as a result, they cannot demonstrate to the business the value, the risk, and the cost of generating digital products for their business. So how does it come that we don't have traceability? Well, the biggest problem we have out there today is that we don't have a defined IT for IT operating model where we define all the processes, the capabilities and tools and the data and how everything should be connected. Instead of, we have different teams working on their own tools, their own practices, and their own data repositories. And as a result, the entire DevOps tool chain is pretty complex with many fragmented data sets. And as a result, we don't have end-to-end traceability from idea to production. And that's where the most important aspect is. Can you co-create with the different teams and departments this end-to-end digital delivery chain and create an IT for IT strategy? Now, IT management is pretty complex, and this picture shows you an illustration of what are the different capabilities you need in this end-to-end DevOps tool chain. So that varies between like a portfolio backlog where the demands from the business coming in, your team backlogs, your enterprise architecture system where you maintain your business capabilities and your processes and how the different applications support the business, your development, your testing tools, source code, your CI/CD pipeline, the monitoring tools out there like log monitoring, application performance monitoring, event management, and of course your IT service management where you manage incidents and changes, the CMDB where we maintain what's deployed where, who's using it, and of course collaboration tools and various data analytics and reporting tools. And you can see this landscape is not simple, it's really complex. But because each of the teams and each of the departments do them all implementing these in their own way, end-to-end traceability is pretty complex. So from getting traceability from a demand into something that's delivered into production and basically demonstrating the value and the outcome of all the activities in IT is very difficult because this end-to-end traceability has not been designed for. So what you need to do is creating traceability based on the data that you have in your IT organization. This picture visualizes that a bit. So what are the key data entities you have in your IT organization? How do you connect the dots together? So from a demand into the backlog, development, testing, deployment, monitoring, event management, incident management. And you need to create traceability through these different data entities. And the backbone of all this is your, as you can see in this picture, is your service and products that you deliver. So you need a single system of record. What are the services I deliver to my business? And what activities do I do? How's work associated with my products and services throughout the entire IT value chain? Now, let me illustrate it a bit of what does it mean and how do you get traceability. So it starts with, as shown in this picture, have a good understanding of the services you deliver. And then everything we do in IT, whether it's about source code build, testing, deployment, everything needs to be connected. So you need to understand how the data flows through the different processes and activities and tools out there across the different teams, like deployment into the monitoring, event management, managing your change, incidents, problems, and request management. As you can see, you build the entire picture with all the dependencies and integration, which is pretty complex, but it is essential to design this because it will not happen automatically. This is not something you can do as an afterthought. Now, what I want to do now is to briefly go through an end-to-end scenario and just illustrating what it takes to get traceability and what you need to do in your own organization to achieve that. As I mentioned, you start with the product and service portfolio. And you need one system of record where all my products and services are maintained, as you can see here, for example, in my service management system. And you link these products and services to, for example, an enterprise architecture system where you maintain the business capabilities, the business processes, and the data in it. And you connect the products to your enterprise architecture artifact. But you also link your products to the backlog. Where is my backlog for this product maintained? And you will be surprised how many organizations don't have a single list of all the products out there, the product owners and the teams, but also where are the backlogs of each of these teams? Even though they all work in Jira or Azure DevOps, the way it's set up, it's very difficult to analyze where is the backlog for each of these teams. Another example is every product and system has licenses and contracts. So you need to trace back where are my contracts managed and how does that link back to my product. And of course, once you have your product and backlog defined, you have your source code repositories where you do the actual building, and then later on you integrate it with your source code and CI/CD pipeline. Another key aspect of traceability is making sure you have your products and the instantiations of these products defined and documented. So, for example, in the CMDB, where each application has, for example, multiple instances for development, test, and production. So very important to have unique tags for each of these instances, so that later on when you build your CI/CD pipeline, where the pipeline is your data entity there, linked to the environment, you can link them to the CMDB. So you know exactly which pipeline is updated, which environment, and what is actually being deployed, which is also essential to get traceability into change management. Like once you deploy to production, you can automatically raise a change request linked into the CMDB, and so on and so on. So you can show here a bit how that is all end-to-end integrated. So your deployment tools are linked into your CMDB as well. So you know what version has been deployed where on which environment. And during deployment, we also deploy monitoring, and we are able to manage the monitors and test management, for example. And from the monitoring, we have event management integrated, linked into incident management, back into problem management, and then you get the end-to-end picture. So this is just a simplification of the entire model. But you can imagine that creating this end-to-end traceability requires a lot of integrations between the different capabilities and tools out there, which it needs to be carefully designed, because typically this landscape, as I've shown here, consists maybe over 20 or 30 different tools to manage the entire ecosystem, from idea to production, or to fix an incident and provide a resolution. So you have to carefully integrate all these different products and components together and identify the key data entities and integrations that you need. And that's where the complexity lies. This is not just happening. It cannot be just an afterthought. This needs to be designed into your way of working. It needs to become part of the DNA of your IT organization. So summarizing, what are we basically talking about is creating a blueprint for your entire IT delivery chain, from idea to production. Understanding the capabilities you need, understanding the data that flows through it, and understanding the key integration. And the key aspect is creating a data-driven approach, understanding what data is maintained where and what kind of integrations do I need. For example, the data related to a story, source code, my build, my test, incident, a change, a risk or a compliance or non-functional requirements. They all need to be linked together. And that requires that all the different teams working on this end-to-end toolchain work together to create this end-to-end traceability. Now, traceability and visibility, again, is one of the most important priorities. Everything will depend on traceability. And that makes it so important to focus on this. This is probably the best card you can play. So you have to make sure that you design your entire IT delivery model, your entire DevOps tool chain in such a way that it enables this traceability. So if there's anything you should do now in your own IT organization, is focusing on enabling the traceability, creating the visibility. It's not about implementing the best capabilities out there for test management or monitoring. It's focusing on creating this end-to-end flow of work and demonstrate end-to-end traceability, because that gives enormous value to demonstrate the value delivered for the customer, getting control of the risk and compliance, and manage your costs. So thank you very much for listening to this presentation. And probably one of the things you should look into is IT for IT standards. So if you want to get control of this traceability, There is a reference model called IT for IT from the Open Group, as you can see on this picture. And there's also a URL here provided. And you can use this basically as your blueprint and starting point to get traceability in your own IT organization. IT for IT provides the capabilities, the data flows, and the required integrations. And you can use this as a diagnostic tool to understand where am I today in my end-to-end traceability and what do I need to do to get to full traceability overall. So thank you very much for listening to this presentation. If you want more information, please feel free to contact me, and I wish you a good digital journey.